Welcome to Origin Stories. I'm RD.
I'm Parrot.
We're telling stories behind the digital art revolution
Each week we interview top artists.
and live stream with the community.
Let's go. Today is tomorrow's origin story.
Lethabo, welcome to Origin Stories.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so happy you're here. And there's a fun bit of synchronicity that you may not be aware of, where when we talked a little bit, we'll get to the wonderful work of art and and all the things you've done in the NFT space and beyond. But there was an episode of Origin Stories, episode number 35, and it was an interview with Micah Johnson. And towards the end of the interview, in what's called the lightning round, which you'll have your try at today, Micah was asked if there was an artist or art to keep all of our eyes on. And he said Lethabo. And I originally, when we had started talking, I did not recall that. But as we kept talking, it dawned on me. I thought, didn't Lethabo's name come up on Origin Stories before? And so I started retracing steps, went back to Micah's interview, re-listened to that clip. And it's just a fun thing to note as we kick off this interview.
That is so awesome. Wow. I'm sorry, I laugh a lot, but wow, that is so sweet. Like I'm so grateful to Micah Johnson. Like he always mentions me. Like I feel like he always mentions me in like conversations, and I'm always so taken aback by it. Like the first time I actually knew about Micah Johnson was actually like I was actually on a Clubhouse room actually, and he was actually part of the audience, and he just came up on stage and was like, you know, I really love your work. Like I think like your work is awesome. And I was like, was that the Micah Johnson talking to me? So wow, like so whenever I hear those kinds of things, I just feel so grateful and honored. Like, wow. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah.
And with that in mind, it feels even more special that you're now here today telling your own story. And that's how we begin. So Lethabo, what is your origin story?
Wow, what is my origin story? I am an artist from Pretoria. I'm a girl from a very, very small town in South Africa called Pretoria. I was born and raised by my grandmother, my mother, and my younger uncle. But that's where I'm from. My grandmother's a very I'd say like she's a very creative person, but more than that, she's a person that encourages a lot of like my creative spirit. So I would say that like she always let me explore. Like as a child, I've always been someone that's been always like, I don't know, like I always loved daydreaming, imagining, trying to like sort of recreate the things that I like saw in my mind or thought. And my grandmother always like allowed me to do those things. I would like draw on her wall. She didn't like it, but she kind of allowed it. I feel like she just gave up and she was like, you know what, just draw on the wall. It's okay. As long as you do it like where people don't see, in the backyard or something. But yeah, like that's me. That's where I'm from. I've just always been like I would say like an artsy, crafty person. Like I like doing things for myself. Even now, like I still, apart from art, of course, but I like doing my own nails, my own hair. And it started like from a very young age. So I've just always had that like within me. And I feel like as I grew up, I realized how lucky I am to have grown up in an environment where my creative side was always like encouraged, like if I were to show them like a really horrible drawing of whatever I've drew, like people were just like, oh wow, this is so amazing. My grandmother would put it up and stuff like that. So that's where I'm from. That's my origin story. Yeah.
So question there is this: what were some of the first things you remember drawing on the walls?
I would usually write my name a lot. So like a lot of the times if you walk around my grandmother's house, you just see like horrible handwriting of Lethabo here, Lethabo there. Apart from that, I loved drawing faces. I just love I love recreating human beings. I just think we look amazing. So complex, so many things that go on. But like from a young age, I've always loved drawing faces, hands, figures, Yeah, but that's always been like me. Like, so if you would see like very, very early drawings of mine, like you just always see like stick figures and stuff like that. Just people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
People, and then you were tagging your name all over the house too, which I love.
Yep. Yep.
So how did this origin then begin to translate to an art career?
So wow, like doing art as a career was never really in the plans.
Mhm.
Especially like I would say that apart from just, I think a lot of it was influenced by just how the world sees art or how artists are treated. Like art has always been something that has been very like sacred to me or very important. So I would say that I guess you'd say that like I really take a lot of things to heart, especially if like I hear certain comments about like people speaking about art, like, oh, she's an artist. Hope she gets a real job one day, stuff like that. So I kind of like I let it sort of shape how I thought about taking art as a career. So okay, but to get back to the point, I initially studied computer science. I'm also a huge fan of tech. I love tech, and so I studied computer science for like 2 years. I guess I was really good at like maths, but like I was really intrigued by coding. I loved coding because if you look at it, it's a form of art in itself. Like you writing that language, you creating that kind of language for computer to read, it's like art in itself. But yeah, like when I got to varsity, I did a module. I studied a module called digital art. I didn't even know that kind of module existed. I was so excited because I was like, wait, that's technology and art in one. That was so great. And I did that module and I was just so inspired to just create. So after that, I saved up for like a secondhand iPad and I just started drawing. I just couldn't get enough of it. Like I would draw. And like over time, this thought became more of a priority to me. And yeah, like everything else was just like, I'll just do it later. And I think also like I used my art as a form of like escapism. So a lot of the times when I was like really stressed about things, I would just draw, so it kept on being a thing like that I run to a lot of the times. And yeah, I just got to a point where I had to be a little bit more like a little bit realistic with myself about like my passion, because it's one thing to be good at something, but it's another thing to be passionate about something, right? And I just feel like, yeah, art was just that thing for me. And I went back home and I spoke to my mom, and yeah, I just told her that I was really, really passionate about art. And I think it's something that should be a thing that I pursue. And that's how my career, my digital art like career started. So at first I would create for like fun, and people are like, hey, can I commission you? I think you could. Can I commission you? Can you print this out for me? Once you're done. So I started selling prints, and that's when I actually started operating more as a business, like on social media, promoting my work, selling my work. And yeah, there was a little bit of like a market, like maybe mostly internationally, but there was people that were interested in like paying or yeah, remunerating me for my craft and my time and stuff like that. So that's how my journey started. So I've been doing it for 3 years. Like I've been a professional digital artist for 3 years. And before that, I did a lot of like traditional art, but that was still like part-time. It was a time I was still studying at Wits, University of the Witwatersrand. It's in Johannesburg.
Uh-huh.
Because sometimes I say Wits and I'm like, okay, I'm sure a lot of people don't know what Wits is, so I just say the full thing. But yes, I'm in Johannesburg, but at the time I was a traditional artist. So I did a lot of like sketches and I was like part-time. So what I do is I would sketch and then like go to exhibitions and put my work up, and sometimes it would sell. So, but yeah, so I did that for 2 years, and then I've just been doing digital art for like 3 years until now.
I love the quote. It's one thing to be good at something. It's another thing to be passionate about something. That hit home for me when you said it. And it's interesting to hear how much it just took over, right? You said when you felt a certain way, you would dive into digital art and it became that outlet as well. So I appreciate that side of the story.
Yep. Yeah, I think it's so true. Like the thing is about like for me, but the thing is about like something that's that you're passionate about, like you can go to that place whenever you want, you know, because there's a lot of like emotion that's sort of attached to it. So whether you're feeling happy, and we humans go through a lot of emotions, so when you're feeling happy, when you're feeling sad, it's something that just draws you in. So yeah, very, very cool. Yeah.
The other part of your background, the fact that you studied computer science for 2 years, the fact that you appreciate coding and you view it as a form of art, it feels like, and maybe this is the next step of the conversation, it feels like you were a natural for NFTs and the intersection of art and tech. I'm fond of saying art led the tech forward, and now you see both of them, the art and the tech, blossoming together at this phase of NFTs. Talk about that, of finding NFTs for the first time, and how you dove in.
Yeah, I like that you said it that way, because I went to study computer science so that I could actually be part of NFTs.
Mhm.
Like it's like I was being prepared to sort of like be part of the NFT space and stuff like that. Because like when I joined the NFT space, like I wasn't hesitant, like I wasn't really hesitant about it, because I knew about the blockchain, a little bit about it and stuff like
Mhm.
that. So a friend of mine who I studied computer science with called me and he's like, hey, dude, there's this thing called NFTs, and this is how it works. And I really think you could do really well in this space. And I was listening to him. We actually spent like almost the whole day on the phone, just talking about like NFTs, the concerns that I had, like just really trying to understand how everything worked, right? How the world, that world worked and stuff like that. So after that, I did my research. I found platforms like Super Rare, Rarible. Yes,
Mhm.
Rarible, known Origin. Yeah, just I think I took like I think 2 months just doing my research, just like just taking it in day by day, trying to see how I can really fit into the space. This is wise and things like that. And that's how I got into the space. And I'm lucky to have a friend like him. Like and I called him again, and he literally helped me set up everything, my wallet, my South African wallets to connect to my non-custodial wallets, everything. So I'm really, really, really lucky to have a friend like him. So that's how I got into the space and how I knew about like NFTs and stuff like that. Yeah.
That's amazing. Shout out to your friend for taking that time.
Yeah.
I love those on-ramp stories where it seems like everyone has a friend or somebody who was influential in that early stage, whether they, a very common story on Origin Stories has been, I remember Baka Arts talked about this, Paradism talked about this, but Robbie Trevino talked about this, but it was someone literally giving them the gas to mint their first NFT and asking for nothing in return except passing it on to the next artist or the next person. I love those stories, and just, that donation of time, energy, passion, and it's kind of like a whisper down the lane in the best of ways.
That is so true. That is so true. I think also like I think that's where like the strong sense of community comes from in the NFT space. I know people are like, community, but it's so strong in
Mhm.
this space. And it's because also how we onboard each other like into the space. It's not just about like sharing information, like you generally get helped. You generally get help with sales, you generally get help with gas fees and things like that. So, and you're forever grateful to those people, because then your life changes forever. But it's because of this person that all of this started. So this space is really that's another part of the space that I love so much. Yeah.
So you're researching and you're finding the super rares and the rarables and the known origins. Take us through that research process. Where did the dots begin to connect for you as to how you were personally going to enter the NFT space and ultimately mint your first NFT?
Honestly, there was a part of me that felt like, this is too good to be true. It just can't be this simple, especially for an artist. I just could not, especially when I went through like, I know I went through hackathon stuff, kind of hands on Super Rare, Puck. And I just felt like, no, man, I feel like they're part of some other thing and they're just posing it as NFTs, because um, NFTs can really feel like they're too good to be true. So at first, yeah, there was a lot of like doubts in my mind, like, are these people who they really say they are? Are they here for what they said they are? But like the more you do your research, I remember, yes, there was a video I watched on NFTs. It's a TEDx talk. I think I'll share it with you, but I have like this thread where I share like a lot of like information on like NFTs and stuff like that. But that was also a video that really helped me. Like he explained NFTs, like I feel like he could explain NFTs to like a 5-year-old. And I love those kinds of explanations because they are the most basic way to explain something. You know, there's no jargon, there's no like, you can really understand it. He uses like relatable examples. And, you know, when he explained it, I got it, you know, I got it, where he was talking about the blockchain, how it operates, what's this, what NFTs actually are when you sell an art piece, what it actually means and stuff like that. So yeah. So I think for me, that TEDx talk, I really wish I could share it right now, but I will share it with you after everything is done, because wow, you know, yeah.
And we'll put that in the Twitter show notes. So when things come out and when the episode's released, we'll make sure that link gets shared around, because it sounds like if that resource is resonating in your mind like that. And I am a huge fan of, you know, especially when we're trying to onboard people or trying to expand the space for the benefit of all involved. I love the simplicity. You know, sometimes we can get stuck a little too far down that rabbit hole, and then we start to explain it to someone outside the space and they think we're, you know, an alien from another planet.
That's so true. That is so true. I feel like those kinds of explanations and tutorials is so helpful and they're so important. I feel like if and the friend that actually helped onboard me actually is working on like a series where explains what NFTs actually are, like in the most simplest way ever. So I feel like we need so many more people like that, just explaining. I feel like it'll just, because another thing about like analogies and relating it to something in the real, like in the real world in the real world, is that people like relate to you differently, right? Someone can understand my explanation but not understand his, or vice versa, right? Same with the TEDx talk. So I feel like it's so also important to just make sure that like we're also, if we can, like just share our understanding of NFTs. And yeah, because you never know, like somebody might have not been understanding it until like they listen to you and they're like, you know what, that actually makes sense, thank you. So yeah.
So you're doing your research, right? And you're finding these artists and you're thinking, you have that hint of maybe this is too good to be true, or maybe this is not for me. How do you get over that hump and then take us to your literal first NFT in the space?
I'm like a fuck it person. I'm sorry for saying, but I'm that kind of a person. Like I think the best way to also learn about the space, especially if you're like an artist, is that you need to sometimes just dive all in. There's just always going to be information that you can read up on, right? What's important is I feel like you will really learn and know about the space when you actually do something about it or take some kind of initiative. So yeah, so that's exactly what I did. I actually applied to Super Rare. Waited a little bit. I thought they didn't really even look at my application. I just thought they were like, nope, right? And then I actually emailed them a month later and actually asked them, you know, if my application was rejected, if so, why, and so forth. And yeah, I think 2 days later, they emailed me back. So I guess if I waited longer, if I was a little bit more patient, you know, I wouldn't have had to send that email. But I got the email and I just minted it. I just, you know, and that's how I also like work with a lot of my, when I create a lot of the times, or how I treat my work, I just always go for it. I just go for it and I just see what will happen, you know, because there's only two things that will happen. It's either going to be a good outcome or a bad one. Regardless, you know, it's good to always know that you actually did it. You tried, you know. I'm a big advocate of just doing things, even if you're scared, nervous, or sad, happy, just do it. Just do it, you know. So that's what I did. I just threw everything in there and I was like, let's see what happens. Yeah. So that's how I actually that's how I did it. That's how I did it. And you learn so much more when you're that side, when you mint your first NFT and you start like looking for artists in the space, start engaging with them, you know. I think, yeah, so I minted my first piece. And then after that, I just started like, I had to like come out of my shell a lot in terms of like just talking to other people, engaging, because also I feel like for me, I guess it's important for me to like I find it easier to make interactions if they're like as organic as I possibly can make them. And I think verbally, I'm not the best person to express myself. So I think it was very difficult for me to try and like sort of be the one that reaches out, be like, hey, I'm also in this space, you're in this space, let's talk about the space, let's just connect. So I did that, and I just started like connecting with people, other artists, talking to them. And I was lucky enough to find like really nice people, really kind people. We just talked, and that's how I found, like, I would say, like, my people in the space that I could like come to and talk to about certain things, certain concerns that I had about the space. And I think it's so important also to just connect with those people. And, if you have a concern or something like that, just to be like, hey, is this correct? Is this, gas fees? What's going on? Things like that. So yeah, but that's how it happened. That's how I joined. That's how I literally started selling NFTs. And yeah, that's how I minted my first piece.
So the phrase that comes to mind right now for me is respectful initiative. And I think this is a great lesson for maybe anyone coming into the space, or anyone finding traction, or struggling to find traction. The respectful initiative that you took to reach back out to Super Rare was the first, example of that in my mind. And then the other one is that respectful initiative to reach out when you have a question, or want to develop a connection, where you said you're not necessarily comfortable like knocking down someone's door, but it's reaching out and saying like, hey, we're both here, maybe we can talk, those kinds of things. I love respectful initiative. I think it goes such a long way. And who's to say if maybe your application would have taken several more months if you hadn't given that second knock on the door respectfully. So that's number one. I love to hear about that stuff. And you do strike me as someone who is extremely confident, but also very respectful. I think it's the best combination in the world. So your first NFT, was it See No Evil?
Yes, it was See No Evil. I actually wanted to, I wasn't sure which one to actually mint between See No Evil and Monday Blues. No, Midnight Blues, sorry, Midnight Blues, right? And I actually like did a poll and actually asked at the time, I was Zach from Super was the one that was onboarding me as an artist, and actually asked him, I'm like, hey, what do you think? Which one should I mint? And like a lot of them actually said Midnight Blues. And I was like, fuck it. Evil it is. So that's what I minted. I minted See No Evil. And I think like 4 days later, I got a bid. I got my very first bid. I actually didn't know I got a bid. I was talking to one of the NFT artists at the time, just getting to know him. I think, yeah, his name is Yos Nair, but I just call him Yos. And we were just talking about the space. And I think at the time he was just speaking about like how it's a little bit difficult for artists to make sales at this time. And then he was like, but congrats, you just got your first bid. And I'm like, I did? And I checked I checked my emails and I did, I was really excited, but also very nervous because it felt really real. And I'm like, oh my God, somebody just invested in me. Oh my God, this is my work. This is very serious. But I was a little bit nervous, and I also didn't know what to do. I'm like, how long should you wait before you accept a bid? Do I reach out to this person right now? What happens now? And I spoke to a couple of people, and they were like, no, wait, give it a few breathers. Also, Can of Hands, his name is Tato. He's actually a South African artist. He joined the NFT space way longer than I did, actually. But I actually asked him about like how I should price my work. And he told me that I should never, at the time, he told me I should never accept a bid lower than, I don't remember how much ETH it was at the time, but like lower than, I think, $1,000 or something like that. And I was like, okay, I'm like, that's a lot, but okay, I'm gonna just take your advice. And I waited and I actually got the bid. I got that bid of that amount. I think it was a little bit more than that. And I waited a little bit again, and then I accepted the offer. And yeah, my first collector's name was actually Nanzo Scoop. I still couldn't believe it. Like, I feel like everything still felt so surreal. And yeah, I was just like, wow, this space is just really crazy. I won't lie.
So how did it happen? That's amazing. And how did it feel then, that moment of accepting, that you've you've received that advice, you've decided to wait a little longer, the appropriate bid comes in, wait a little bit past that, and then you're getting ready to click that, let's fulfill this, let's make it official. My first NFT is now going to be passed to a collector. How does that moment feel?
Bittersweet. I won't lie to you, because See No Evil is actually like one of my favorite pieces ever. So before I accepted the bid, I'm like, I should have put up another one. This one, I don't think I'm ready to let it go. So like sometimes like it's a little bit difficult to let certain pieces go. I think it just makes it also real, because it's like, you're sharing, you're giving this thing to somebody else. They're gonna own it now. So I think that was that was like the bitter part of it. But like it was also sweet that somebody actually loved my work that much to actually buy it for that amount. Because I was like, oh wow, my work resonates with you on that level. That's amazing. So I think it's always bittersweet when you accept an offer and stuff like that. But yeah, but regardless, I was really excited. I was really happy. That's when I started like actually sitting down with my family, telling them about what NFTs actually are. Because they were just like, what, girl, you've been talking about this thing for so long. You make bits. What's going on? What's going on with you? So I actually had to sit them down. I'm like, no, this is real money. It's in Ethereum. It's real. Like, don't worry. This is how it works. This person owns this now. Here's where they're from. I remember my grandmother was so curious. She's like, who's this person that bought this piece? Show me their profile. I want to see what they look like. And I showed her and stuff like that. So yeah, it was like really, it was a very crazy moment, and it was actually during this time, December, my favorite time of the year. So everything was really great. Yeah.
Well, happy anniversary. I mean, it's how perfect, right? It's December 2021 now. What strikes me as a really, really smart concern is the one that you shared when I asked the question and your first reaction was it was bittersweet. I think it's one, honest, but it has a really smart concern behind it. It's to say, I'm now taking this creation that is important to me and sharing it with somebody else. And I think one thing we have seen in the NFT space is that when that takes place, we've seen these examples of collectors having a say or, making their opinions known. And that does intertwine with the artist's journey, very, very, very much, at least to date in the space. So you having that initial concern it strikes me as very smart. Can you talk about that a little bit more? And along the way, from the moment that you passed See No Evil along and had your first collector to how you've navigated the space since, but talk about that concern a little bit more.
I think like yeah, I think it's also like it's a shared concern. I think like when you sell your work to someone else, like they sort of like are part of your journey as much as you are part of their journey. And I feel like it also puts, I remember when I first started, I'm still figuring a lot of myself out, but at the time, there was just a lot more things I was just not sure about, like in terms of just expressing myself as a person, right? So you feel very concerned about how you carry yourself in the space, or the things that you say, like how you say them, the things that you post and things like that. So I think because also the space is like we're learning as we go. So like it's like we're looking at each other like, it's like, oh I think I can do that because you did it, like you did it. So I think I can do that. So a lot of the times I think my main concern, my major concern was, okay, now that you have this piece and you bought it for this amount of money, what do I say? How do I say it? Can I still be me? Can I still tweet about my old boring life, my just random stuff that happened on a random Tuesday afternoon and retweet certain funny tweets and stuff like that? So that was my main concern. Just like, how do you carry yourself? How do you carry yourself in the space? How do you communicate with people? How do you engage with people? But I think it was really greatly tied also with my personality. Maybe certain, I guess, insecurities also that sort of made the concern a much bigger thing for me. But yeah, I think like the more it's interesting because like once someone collects your piece, you also like you learn about like them and their personality And it's like also meeting a new person, even though it's still like online, you're like, oh, so you're like this. Oh, you watch soccer? Oh, okay, that's really interesting, you know, because you guys share this thing together now, right? So yeah, it's just like, but like I think the more that you learn about your collector, you just like, oh, this person is human like me, you know, I can do that. I think I can, you know, I can just talk about whatever really, you know. So yeah, I think that was just the concern. Yeah.
Isn't that, it does strike me as a beautiful thing about this space where I think more people than not, and again, at the present moment, right? The present moment we find ourselves in, where authenticity and rawness and realness is still, you know, most people's preference, right? Most people prefer others in this space. And in fact, it's talked about a lot when big brands have come in and maybe not hit the right note. A lot of people talk about it, but that's not real. That's not, you know, they're not being authentic, right? Authenticity is the priority. And so yeah, you talk in a lot of ways, you talking about that thing that's going on a Tuesday afternoon, you know, is important to somebody else. It's, oh, she is real, you know, she's a real artist. She's an authentic artist. She is kind of sharing a little bit of that extra stuff that maybe not everyone does.
Yeah. Yep. True. True. That's very true. Yeah.
So keep walking it forward. So Midnight Blues ends up being next, even though some people wanted it first, it ends up being the next mint. And then how does that go?
Yeah, also, yeah. I think also like after I sold See No Evil, it's also a matter of how long should I wait before I mint the next one? Because, you know, but then yeah, I think I applied my fuck it rule, you know, and I just did it. And I
It's
minted
such a good
the
rule, by the way. You're going
and
to
now
own
that
that terminology after this episode.
sorry. But yeah, but you know, I think now that I actually been reading, sorry to derail, but I've been reading a book, well, an audiobook. I'm more of an audiobook person, listening to this audiobook by Mel Robbins. It's titled The 5 Second Rule. So now when I read it, when I'm listening to it, I realize that like that rule, the fucking thing is what it's the 5 second rule. So like the 5 second rule is essentially you just count from 5 till 1, and then you do something that you were really afraid of doing. If you're nervous about like speaking up or calling, talking to someone, you know, you just apply the 5 second rule and you do it immediately after one. You just do it before your emotions like interfere. Right. So yeah, so I just realized now that that's what I've been doing with my art. It's like, oh, makes sense. But yes, but sorry, what was the question?
Oh, that's good. With it, I love the tangents. I think just keep going. We're talking about Midnight Blues, but I really like this concept of the fuck it rule, the 5 second rule. I prefer your rule.
Okay, cool. But yeah, but that's what I did. I applied that rule with Midnight Blues, and I just did it. And then I actually got a DM from Kai Shearfield. He's the head of crypto at Visa. And he was like, hey, how much would you sell this piece for? And I was like, I don't know how to negotiate. What's going on? So I actually, luckily, my grandmother was there. My grandmother's like, she's really smart in a lot of, like, she knows a lot about a lot of things. So she's like a knowledge sponge. You know, you can ask a lot of things and she kind of like knows the stuff, you know. So I, luckily he was here with me because I live with my mom, and she was here, and I spoke to her. I'm like, this is what's happening. What should I do? And you know, we talked about it, and she just gave me advice, you know, and then I sent him my offer and stuff. We spoke a little bit, and then he placed the bid, and he bought it. And then you know, that was that, you know. And I think I was really you know, I was a little bit excited. I became a lot more excited when I realized that it wasn't just like a transaction, you know, like, oh no, you know, you bought my piece, goodbye, thank you. You know, he wanted to like, you know, we went on a call after that, you know, we just spoke about like our lives and stuff like that. And then yeah, just like engaging me and just like sort of like talking to me about certain things in the space and stuff like that. So like I was like, oh no, you actually, you know, you care, you know, you care about me as an artist. It's not just, you know, you didn't just buy it because, you know, you could and stuff like that. So I really, really appreciated that. And also it made me realize that wow, this space is actually is really great. Like it's, so many, people are really invested in the space. People are so invested in the artists and things like that. So it was really awesome. But that's how Midnight Blues happened. Yep.
Amazing. And then from there, keep going. Just keep us on this journey. There are a lot of milestone markers, but take us wherever you want. The things that today, or just about a year, right? Just about that year anniversary from the very, very beginning. Take us along those milestones that resonate.
Midnight Blues happened. And then I went on an interview with Kai, with yes, Kai, and I forgot his name, but it was with CoinDesk. CoinDesk, yes, that was the name of the thing. And we spoke. It was actually my first time on a clubhouse, in a clubhouse room. I was so nervous. I was so nervous that I could have, I don't know, I was literally so nervous. I didn't think I'd actually be able to speak. But first it was like a sort of like a Zoom type of interview, which was fine. And I think at the time he was there. So it was like almost like it wasn't just about me. The pressure wasn't just on me. It was like, oh, what do you think, Kai? What do you think, Lethabo? So that was like really like chilled. I was still new to Zoom also. Just a lot of like these communication apps and just dealing with them and just navigating them. And then like we spoke, we did the interview, then we moved on to Clubhouse. And unfortunately he couldn't make the Clubhouse thing. And I just felt like I was going to die. I could not, but I did it. I said a few things and it wasn't as bad as I thought, and then so that ended. And then afterwards, then I had a fireside, I think that's what it's called, like a fireside conversation with him for Visa, which was really big for me. And it was published on the Visa YouTube page. And that was really awesome. I shared it. I was like, look, guys, I'm on Visa. Look at this. I'm speaking about crypto in my journey. And I think that's another lovely thing about what I learned about like just being an artist in general. I think a lot of the times I thought that you had to say certain things or, but then I realized that I'm just speaking about like my journey and there's no right or wrong, about it. Like you don't have to worry too much about what people are going to say because literally no one else has lived your life. You're the only one that can tell people what has happened, how you feel about it. It's not wrong. So that's what I learned as time went on. But then after that, I sold a few more pieces. I sold a piece to Ellen, it was titled Child Mother. And, I got onto this podcast after that, just talked about like my journey. We talked about crypto space. And then then Kai put me there was this group chat, right, on Telegram. It was like a bunch of creatives and some investors, and we just like talking collectors, I think, and just crypto enthusiasts just in the space. And we're just like introducing each other, just talking. And then that's how Lady Phoenix found me. So Lady Phoenix is the lady that actually called me and asked me to be part of the Christie's auction. Yep. And I was like, me? No, not me. Are you sure? But I was really excited. That was like around May, June. And she told me about the Christie's auction. She wanted me to create something totally new. If I had any new concepts at the time, I was working on a piece inspired by like how I grew up, like my close related to like my grandmother, and just how I grew up with her and her garden and stuff like that. And then I got a call from Michael from Sotheby's, I think it was a few days later, and he asked me to be part of the Sotheby's auction. And I was like, you know what? Oh, at the time, I actually had found, he had recently become my manager. But before that, he was actually a friend, like a virtual friend of some kind. Like we connected over email. At the time, he was working on a marketplace, an NFT marketplace called Sonia. And we connected, and he actually told me that he actually had like some management background. He managed like some really cool artists that I love in South Africa. And I was like, wow, that's cool. But like he was a really cool person. I really loved his spirit or energy. Like it was very, I felt very just comfortable to just like speak. He was a very kind person, if I could put it that way. Like he's yeah, I don't know how to describe it, but like he's a very, his heart is open, if I can put it that way. But so we spoke more, and then later on, I couldn't, there was a lot of admin that I had to do at the time, and I had to create, and I had certain timelines, very tight timelines, and I just asked him if he could manage me, and I thought he would say no. I was like, I'm just gonna fuck it, ask him. And I thought he would say no. Fuck it rule. Yeah, exactly. And I thought he was just gonna say no. But later on he was like, you know what? I let's give it a try. It's not something that I actually was looking to do any longer, but you know what? Let's give it a try. And I was like, that's good enough for me. Thank you. And we gave it a try for 3 months. So he was the one helping me with like the legal part of the everything, the project, the auctions, just reading through everything, making sure that I fully understand what I'm getting myself into. And that was really helpful, and I realized that it's so important as artists also to start operating like as a business, or become like a lot more business minded in terms of legality issues and stuff like that. You need to make sure that you know what you're getting yourself into. People can smile and laugh with you, but when they send you a contract, don't just sign it, just reflecting on like the conversation that you had, kind of like really like apply your mind and just like really make sure that you know what's happening. And he helped me with that a lot. And I think at the time I was still just learning to trust him also. So I was applying the fuck it rule that entire 3 months. Just fuck it. It's either he's going to be very helpful to me in my career, or he's literally just gonna fuck me over. So so he helped me a lot, and we ended up signing a contract, and I really loved, I feel like I'm very lucky to have found a person like him, because he is not just like my manager. He helps me, like he mentors me. It's not a matter of he does everything and just keeps quiet about it. He wants me to be involved. Like he tells me, this is how you do it. Like ask me how I did it, so you know how to do it in case I'm not here anymore, and things like that. So I really appreciate that about him. Sometimes he's my therapist, I guess, but he's just helped me a lot, like in terms of like being a lot more like realistic in terms of just myself as an artist, and just taking myself a little bit more serious as an artist, and just seeing the other side of the world. I feel like I've always lived in like a little bubble in terms of like how I see people and stuff like that. So he sort of makes me look at everything in its entire whole. And he sort of like brings the realistic side of things. I'm like, oh, I want to do this and then this, and then this person talked to me, and then he's like, hold on now, let's really look at that. So, and I really appreciate that about him. So yes, I met him, I did the Sotheby's Christie's thing. Wow, that was a really tough time, because I felt like I just felt pressured, because it's like I had to like make one of the best pieces I've ever made, do it twice for Sotheby's and Christie's. Yep. And the most important one was the one about my granny, titled Gogo and Me. I feel like it's one of my most important pieces to date. And that pressure also, just that pressure of sort of like recreating that atmosphere that my grandmother created for me growing up, her garden, our relationship, and everything, her house and everything. So, and Lady Phoenix was just on my neck. She was like, I don't think this is your best. Try harder. And I'm glad that she did those things, because at the time I was very emotional. I'm like, how can she say that? That's my reality, that's my interpretation. But the more I worked on it, the more I realized that I could actually do much better, and I feel like it unlocked a certain art style of some kind. Like it improves my art style in some way. like that time when I felt really pressured, and I just felt like, no, why is she telling me all these things? And I worked a lot on the detail, the colors and everything, and it came out looking amazing. And I'm so grateful that she had actually pushed me to do much better, because it's so different. I feel like it's not easy for an artist to see if they're stagnant, or if they it's very difficult for us to see if we are doing enough or if we could do better sometimes, because well, I'm a very emotional artist. So, and emotions are very fickle, but in the moment they feel so real, and they feel like, you know what, if this is the way that if this is how I feel it should be, then it must be that way. So yeah, so I was grateful for that. And yeah, it actually taught me to also like consult with people before I share my work, which actually helps. Like, just share it with a few people that can be really objective with you, and just share it with them, and just ask them what they think about the piece. Do you like it? Because sometimes they also share like very technical things with you, like, oh, I see there's a little stroke at the corner. Was that intentional? Was that a mistake? And you realize, oh, that was actually a mistake. Thanks. So those kinds of things. So that was Sotheby's and Christie's. I did it. I was very exhausted afterwards. Like, I didn't want to draw for a very long time, because I was like, this is where I end. This is the limits of my art at this particular moment. And it went well. I had to speak on spaces again. I just did it. I was much, much more comfortable with doing the spaces, but it was still a little bit like exhausting, I guess, for me. But I still did them. I still did them, and I realized that people also just want to like hear you. They just want to hear just want to hear you speak about your work. It's nothing deep. It's nothing very serious, but sometimes it can feel like you are being put on the spot or something like that. So yeah, but I did it, and it wasn't as bad as I thought. Again, it's like whenever I join spaces, I'm always so nervous, and then I join them and I'm like, this wasn't so bad. So yeah, but that was Sotheby's and Christie's. Then we move on to Institute. Yes, Unit London. Wow, Unit London. At the time, it was a very, very hectic time for my manager, because he just had a baby, his second boy. So there was just a lot going on right in the time. And yes, Unit London, I created a piece titled Monday Morning, and it was like inspired by Mondays and how horrible they can be at times. Also, then like I don't know, Monday always like brings a certain level of just nervousness, a lot of nervous energy, uncertainty for a lot of things in the future. And that's what I did. And it was actually a self-portrait. And at the time, yes, there was a lot of things I was just unsure of, like just personal things. I just was just unsure of, relationships and things like that, friendships. And that's just how I was feeling at the time. And I've always wanted to exhibit my work with Unit London. So I literally screamed when I saw the email, because I was like, no, this is not happening. Not so early on in my career. And they were like, no, Unit London Institute. They actually DM'd me first. They followed me and then they DM'd me. And they were like, yo, we have this thing that we want to talk to you about. And then I was like, okay. And I just didn't think they were serious. I was like, no, let me not keep my hopes up, because I really love Unit London. I don't want to. And they emailed me and I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is so amazing. So we worked with them for that piece. And the piece was sold to NFT aficionados. And yeah, I was really happy. I was really happy. And especially that I worked with, Institute and Unit London. That was just amazing for me. And that's what actually sort of started talking more with IX Charles. She's a really, really cool artist. I hope to meet her one day actually, but she's really, really awesome. Unit London happened. And then yeah, I just started. Oh, then I did like a 21 sketches for nothing. I think at the time, I just felt like there was a really strong need for me to like constantly create, especially when you like now have been in the space for so long. You just kind of feel like people are always making things, and you just like, wait, hold on. I feel like I'm missing a train or something. I just need to be moving. And I just felt so pressured that I got into like a major art block, like I just could not create. anything. And that's when I started creating sketches for nothing, 21 sketches for nothing. So I did it for 21 days. People like asking me what I'm going to do with the sketches. I'm not going to do anything with them. I think it'll ruin the entire purpose of what that was for. And for 21 days, I just created every day. And the point of me doing that was not just to create something amazing. It wasn't to create something amazing, anything like that. It was to just create, even if it was like a circle, just one circle, or a really bad drawing. And also to just get comfortable with understanding that some of your work is going to suck. You're not always going to make brilliant work. It's very rare that you're going to make work that you feel like, I can't believe, sorry, alarm. I can't believe I made such great work. I can't believe I made that. It's very rare that you make work like that. So I just created for nothing. I just created and it was also like sketches of the most mundane things: noses, an eye, a hand, things that just didn't connect to anything. They were just there. And I did it. And I was really proud that I actually managed to do it for 21 days. I learned a lot actually, about a lot of drawing fundamentals and things like that. So I guess I learned a lot in that regard. And then that was a really, really cool time for me. And then afterwards, and I just felt more comfortable with just sharing my work, even if it's just work in progresses, because sometimes you see really amazing work and you're like, I shouldn't be sharing that. Have you seen what this person has done? Don't share that. So that really helped me. After that, I just shared whatever I wanted to share, and it just reminded me that this is your space at the end of the day. Twitter is like your space. Just post whatever you want to post, whatever work you want to post. It's okay. And I did that. And then after that, Time Magazine happened.
Pause there for 1 second. I just want to really double down on something you said.
Yep.
I love that your response to feeling pressure was to unlock the creativity and to say that I don't have to or want to do anything with these sketches or what I'm creating right now. They can live on their own. They don't have to be tokenized. They don't have to have, utility or anything. Right? I'm just creating. I love that was your response, because I do feel in this space, it's easy to have the opposite response, which is to recede or retreat or stop creating, or feel as though everything I do create, I have to then go do something with because so-and-so said it or so-and-so said it. I love that was your response. It feels like it feels like a really amazing path to go down. And yeah, I want to make sure to pause there, because I do think that's something that's going on right now in the space, the thinking something has to be done, again, utility, et cetera, et cetera.
That is so true. And I think I'm also just really concerned about mental health, especially when it comes to a lot of artists. I feel like a lot of artists are literally losing their marbles, they shit right now because of the NFT space, unfortunately. A lot of artists are in a very dark place, in terms of now the focus is a lot on making a sale. And a lot of the times artists attach their sale to their self-worth. It's so strange. If they don't make a sale, it's the art is not good enough. You just, it's just not good enough because you didn't make a sale, and stuff like that. So, and I can see that a lot of artists are just starting to feel really down by it. And there's just a lot of not so nice energy in the space, just a lot of not so nice energy in the space. So I'm really concerned about that. I'm really concerned about, we can talk about it, but I think I just sometimes feel like it's not enough, because they can be like, oh yeah, I hear what you're saying, but you can say that because you make sales, so it doesn't really they don't really get it, and I really hope that we just get to a point where artists realize how important their work is. No one can make work like yours ever. There'll never be anyone that can. And, use that, and to be able to create is such a powerful gift, like any other gift, to have that gift is so powerful. And I think we tend to forget that. And I think that's the sad thing about unfortunately, the NFT space operates on social media, and social media already just has like certain pressures in general about how you should live your life, how you should look, how you should eat, and just how you should just like, live your life and stuff like that. So I think now, because now NFTs are, there, it just builds a crazy amount of pressure, and like there's so much money involved. I think there's just a lot of comparison that goes on. Like, how can she, or how can he? He's only 17. How can he make $1 million off of that? I think also there's starting to be like a lack of respect when it comes to like other artists and their craft and stuff like that. Because a lot of artists now starting to compare their work, and they're like, look at my work. My work looks like this. I've put so much hours into this. But when you look at another person's art, you can feel like, but this person didn't really put much effort into this. But you forget that that's not what art is about. Art is about you and your interpretation of it and how you express yourself, and that's what people gravitate towards, not how many hours you spent on the piece. It's about like, how much soul did I put into this thing. So those kinds of things, I think that's just my major concern with the space.
Yeah, and we look at the space, and the blessing of the space is, the history that's being made, a way to own a digital artwork, right? That's incredible. That's groundbreaking. It never existed before, right? So NFTs come around in 17, 18, and now obviously they explode in 20 and 21. And that's the blessing side of it, right? And I think that's going to continue to be historical and something that won't change. Blockchains may change, forms of expression may change, but that premise won't change. The ability to own a digital asset, a digital piece of artwork, that's incredible. But the curse that comes along with the blessing, because nothing's ever 100% one direction or the other, the curse that comes along with it, to your point, is comparison. It's a space that's literally built for comparison, because it does both rest on the blockchain and in a lot of ways social media, right? Twitter and Discord. The numbers are there. They're just there. They're in your face. The opinions are there and in your face to a level that really hasn't existed before. And that can be really, really troublesome to navigate. And so, I'm just nodding along with you when you say, someone can hear you say that, but not internalize it, because they're like, oh, well, you're making a sale, or this is happening over there. So they hear it and they're like, okay, maybe that makes sense, but it's not really penetrating. And I think it's important to keep talking about. I think it's important that, the space evolves, but it can only evolve so much. I think every individual, every artist, every builder, whoever is involved in the space has to evolve with it.
That is so true. That is so true. And there's only so much one person can do. There's only so much you can really like communicate and say. But yeah, I think also we're learning as we go. I think hopefully that's a nice thing I love about this space. Like, we are living in an era. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in 10 years. So that's what I love about it, So hopefully things change for the better. And that's all. Yeah.
And the other beautiful thing is that you're literally building the space, you literally hands-on are playing a role. However small you want to make it out to be, or big you want to make it out to be, you are playing a literal role in building the space in this Wild West moment.
That is so true. That is so true. Wow. Yeah. Like, I feel like the NFT space makes everyone creators. Like, you're a creator in your own way, So yeah, we're building something major. I can't believe, what a crazy time to be alive. I can't believe I get to live to experience this. It's so crazy.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
It's a collision of so many different things. And like, again, the birth of a whole new technology, which is bringing with it forms of expression, and unbelievable. So let's get back to your form of expression. You mentioned Time Magazine, and continue that journey.
Oh yes, Time Magazine. Well, I got a DM from Miku Johnson saying, hey, are you free? Want to go on a call? I was like, yes, let's go on a call. And he was like, are you doing anything right now? Working on any projects? I was like, no, I'm not working on anything. And he was like, well, there's this project that I would like to tell you about. I suggested that you be part of it. Time Magazine is working on their first NFT project titled Build a Better Future. I'd like to connect you to Keith. And I was like, Keith who? He's like,
Keith Grossman.
The president of Time. I'm like, what? but I was like, okay, cool. I kept my cool because I'm a very emotional person, but I kept my cool. And, we spoke. He told me about the project and what would be required of me. He told me actually like what he would create for it. He created like representation, which is Aku looking at a piece that another piece of a child, sort of like, so there's like a piece within a piece, basically an art piece within an art piece, and he was just telling me that was the idea that he was gonna like be working on. And like I was like, oh, that's amazing, and then he connected me to Keep, and I was so nervous. I even felt sick. Like I felt so sick before I went on the call. I was like, what am I going to say to this person?
It
What
was
am I going to
Clubhouse all over again.
Exactly. And I just didn't know what I was going to say to this person. I'm like, what am I going to say? I'm just an artist. I don't know what I'm going to say. And we got into this space and he was so kind, like one of the kindest person ever. Like he was so lovely. And I just didn't expect him to be like that. I think when you see president, you just feel like it's going to be someone in a suit and they're going to be like, and, very serious and this, and he wasn't, he was very, very casual, very, very, very calm. He told me about the project and everything that it entailed. So basically, I had to just create a piece titled, I had to create a piece themed around what I believe building a better future meant. And I remember he told me about his daughter, and he was saying his daughter had actually asked him if a girl could ever become a president, or a woman could ever become a president. And that's where I actually got the inspiration for the piece. We had that conversation and I created a piece titled Safe Haven. And Safe Haven is about the importance of creating safe spaces, especially for Black girls to like grow up in and exist in and just to express themselves in, because the world can be so dismissive, and just cruel to children. And I think it's so important to nurture that emotional, mental, and spiritual side of a child, because I feel like your childhood really shapes how you see the world, how you see yourself, and just like how you live your life. And that was what the piece is about. Very nerve-wracking time for me, because I actually created the piece so many times and it just wasn't working. I was panicking. Like the creative juices were not flowing. Like there was just no magic. Everything was just so hard to achieve or complete in the piece. And I even called my manager and I just told him that I really don't think we have it. I just don't think now is the time. And he was very
No pun
calm.
intended, right? I don't think now is the
That was
time. Sorry, I had to. I'm a big pun fan.
Oh, good one. Sorry.
Sorry,
But
I went on a tangent there. My fault.
I was like, that was not the time. And he was really, really calm about it. He was like, no, look at it again, give yourself some time, maybe go out, do something different. And like I listened to him and I was like, okay, cool. And I realized that as I was doing the final piece, I realized that my problem was actually being too much in my head. Because it's such a big piece, I sort of pressured myself. Like, so any little stroke that I made, I just felt like that wasn't gonna cut it. Like I was like, really, for Time Magazine, that crooked line, are you kidding me? Do that again. So that's why it ended up looking the way it did. So I forgot that it's so important, especially not to trust the process. Your work will look very ugly before it looks the way you want it to look. So you just have to like trust yourself and sort of like apply a lot of blind faith, really. And that's what I did. I did that and I just ignored myself. I zoned out and I was like, I'm just not going to listen to you because you're not very nice today. And I just started working and I did it. I actually did it and it looked amazing. And it started making sense literally an hour when I was left with like an hour of like creating it, sort of like The work that I had to do, the work that was left for the piece to complete it was just like an hour sort of. And that's where it actually started making sense. So for like the entire day and those other days, it just didn't make sense. And like within that hour, everything came together. And I was like, of course, this is art. This is what always happens. It's like, it's always like some kind of cliffhanger or some kind of, you're just always like left in some kind of mystery or suspense when you're creating. And it worked. And I was really, I really loved the piece. It was amazing. And yeah, but that's the timeline. That's the timeline and the milestone, the things that really, really, wow, that I can't believe happened to me.
What an incredible year. I mean, just those milestones, I think, would resonate with just about anybody. Just seeing, in that calendar year of 2021, milestones beginning with your first mint, progressing to Christie's, and then, fast forward many others, and then Time Magazine. And yeah, just what a year. What an incredible year.
What a year. What a year.
So bring us to November, December, obviously recording this towards the end of December 2021, and talk about your latest piece, because it seems like you talked before about a piece, with the concept of a piece within a piece. And I flagged that in my own mind, because it really seems as though what you have created with Bloom and what you're doing, well, I want to hear it in your words, but it does seem like it's something bigger than itself.
Yep. Wow. Yeah. Bloom is definitely something much bigger than itself. How it started was, it was actually a concept that that I thought about, like, for it's, when you're an artist, you kind of like have different concepts that like just keep on, like, I don't know, flying through your brain for like a long time. So for me, I've always had an idea of creating some kind of piece within a piece, like an artwork within an artwork or something like that. But that was it. It was very, very rough. And I found Mental Canvas, the software called Mental Canvas. And at the time I was actually going through a lot of things. Like at the time I was also trying to go back into like my traditional side of things, like sort of like bringing the digital and the traditional part of it back. But yeah, obviously I was feeling towards the end of the day, I was feeling very experimental. I was like, you know what, I need to do something different. I need to do something that I'm scared of, like I'm scared of doing, because I realized that a lot of the things that I was doing was, I was playing it very safe. And there wasn't that sense of fear or concern, like, is this really gonna work? And I really missed that, because I feel like that just makes art so much more exciting. We just don't know what would happen. And so I was creating Bloom, and the first I would say the first draft of Bloom was actually me creating something on an iPad, right? And the iPad would have been just another piece, right? Another piece. So I would create two pieces and put them in one. And so I did it I tried the first time. Actually started creating this, I think it was back in August. And it was a sketch, July or August. It was a sketch, a very rough sketch, and the colors were not working. And I was like, I'm gonna leave this for now. And then fast forward to now, I had time and I was just feeling very experimental. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. And and I was watching a lot of like, also like a lot of animations and stuff like that. And I think I was in a lot of conversation with my manager Lethabo about like, how can I create a much better experience of my work, like something much more than what you see, because my work is still, right, so a lot of it is just still work. And I wanted to create more movement, more life in the pieces, in my pieces. And that's when I tried working on Bloom again. Didn't work. Same concept, didn't work. I did it again, didn't work. I was like, okay, what is the problem? And then that's when I actually found Mental Canvas. I was just like browsing through the internet, I think it was YouTube. Was it YouTube? I think it was YouTube or something like that. I don't really remember, but something like that. And I found Mental Canvas, and I think I saw a video of someone who had made an animation using Mental Canvas. I'm like, hold on, what? How did you do that? That's weird. And I downloaded Mental Canvas and I played around with it, and I realized that you can actually play around with perspective. And at the time, I was actually big on perspective. I think even also for my Time magazine piece, I focused a lot on like perspective, how to create an illusion of things looking, certain objects seeming like they're much forward than others, things like that. And I found Mental Canvas. I played around a little with it. I went back to the piece. I did it again, right? So then I realized when I actually had it printed out. I printed it out. I started painting on it. And I realized that I actually felt like I could do something else with this. And I was like, no, I actually want to create it again. And I want to see how it would look if I created it again. And I created it again. I shared it with my manager. So when I created the final one, I put the previous piece in the iPad, right? In the iPad, right? And he was like, do you realize what you've just created? And I'm like, what? And then he was like, this is an NFT within an NFT within another NFT. And I was like, no, yes, it is. And what I did was within that older piece, I put in a much, much older piece, right, in the iPad. So I was like, oh my word, this is the thing that I've been thinking of, and I didn't know how to really put it into, like, bring it to life or paint it or draw it. Like that's that thing I was thinking of. So it was like a aha moment, like, oh, right, this is what my soul has been trying to say. And after that, I played around with it, and I was like, okay, this is cool, but how can I create like an experience of it? Like, how can you really get to experience all the pieces, right? And I'm like, animation.
Mhm.
But I'm like, animation is a little boring. Just animation is a little boring. How can I make it much, much more interesting? And I was like, Mental Canvas, right? And yeah, I downloaded the app. I already had it actually. And then I went into Mental Canvas and I played around with just the you know, the space, the just creating a quality of depth in the piece, making it seem sort of like there's a lot, like you can dive more into the piece, giving it that kind of feel. And that's what I did. So that's what I did with the first one. And I'm like, it would be cool to have like something that goes into the second one. And then you can like zoom into it and actually get to experience that piece. And then go into the next one and get to experience that piece. And I called my manager and I'm like, look, this could actually be a thing that goes on and on and on. This could be the blueprint to me sharing more stories, sharing much, just for yeah, sharing more stories in future. Like it can actually go on and on and on. And I was just so in love with it. Like my favorite thing about Bloom is that it allows me the opportunity to carry on with the same story. Like it's one big story that it doesn't have to end. A lot of my pieces, they end. When I'm done. I need to move on to another piece. But this one is like, no, you can carry on, you can create something and you can connect it to the previous one, and just keep on moving that way. And that's how Bloom came about. But we were so excited. We were so excited. We were talking about these concepts, what I'm gonna do in future. And I was so nervous to share with him like the final piece. I actually took days to actually share it because I was telling him a lot about these things, but he didn't see them. And I was really nervous, and that's, I think, how I kind of knew that maybe I created something that's really awesome, in a very long time, with regards to my work and stuff like that. Or my work is progressing, my style is actually moving, and I don't know how to feel about it. Like I thought it was cool. but I didn't know how someone else would feel about it, and I spoke to him and he called me immediately and he's like, dude, this is amazing. This is actually amazing. And I was like, right? And I was really excited to share it, and people really loved the piece. Like, and also when I was sharing it, I was like, I don't know how people are going to react to this, because this is so different from what I do. And, people really loved it. And I was like, you guys, this is amazing. You guys don't even know the half of the things that I'm thinking, and I really love that I'm still learning about the software and how to use it. I feel like the pieces that I'm yet to create are going to be wow, like they're going to be mind blowing and stuff like that. So that was also like what I was excited about. Like, I actually found something to do for the Christmas holidays. Like, I could play around with this new software. I don't have to I think I get my creative side, or my creative mind gets bored very easily. And I really like it when I find something like this where I can just experiment with it and it's totally new. And I was like, no, but I don't have to stop here. I printed it out. I printed Bloom out again. And yeah, I had a couple of conversations with like my printer, because I printed on a very big scale this time around. And yeah, I just had a couple of conversations about the kind of paint I can use with the print and stuff like that. We did a few just test prints and stuff like that. And then yeah, I started painting again. Oh, that felt amazing. And this time around, I didn't paint with brushes. I actually used palette knives, which is something that I never really used. So I was like, if this goes bad, then yeah, that's it. And I started using the palette knife, and it came out amazing. And um, yeah, I feel like I opened two new ways for me to actually start working on and creating, like, because I felt like for a very long time that my style was a little bit stagnant, and I don't really like making stuff that's always the same. That's always the same. There must always be something different about it, even if it's in the smallest ways. So this was like something really huge. That's something that's really, really different from what I usually do. So I'm still very excited. So that's how Bloom came about. And also initially Bloom was also about to celebrate my journey in the space, and to about like reflecting on the NFT space and how it has affected me like personally, and how it has changed like me as a person. I think the space has also taught me to just allow yourself to allow allow your creative spirit to just be the way it wants to be, to create the way you want to create, and to just be. I feel like a lot of the times I would tend to contain a lot of my creative energy or how I create, because I would follow a lot of like design type of techniques and stuff like that, and those like require a lot of like calculating how and where you put certain things. And this space has just taught me to be more free about me as a person, the things that I say, how I present my work, and how I speak about my work. Like, I can just speak about my work and just say what it is, and that is enough. I've just always felt like a lot of the times, a lot of things that I say are just not enough. Like, you need to say more, and art is just art, and you need to just allow your art to be, yes, treat it like your baby, speak for it, because art can't speak. You need to speak for it, but like also just speak from the heart. Just say what it is, and you don't have to say but you don't have to add on, or just say how you feel about it. Just say how you feel about it, and that's that. But that was also what Bloom was about. It was just about like really just encapsulating this entire year, what it's been about, my journey as an artist. Because I won't lie, I know I say this a lot, but my life has changed in ways I can't imagine. Like, I feel like I've grown so much as a person, in terms of just how I approach certain situations in life, and also speaking up for myself, and just knowing that like it's simple things like no is a full sentence. You don't have to people please a lot. at all. But you know, those kinds of things, like I learned a lot about like myself in that regard. Like you know, like you are worthy enough to demand a level of respect, or yeah, you know, to say like, hang on, you can't treat me like that, that's wrong. And to say those things, you know, but more than anything, to just stand up for myself and speak. And I realized the more that I speak in these spaces, as much as they make me nervous and I don't quite like them, they teach me to speak. You know, I need to be able to speak, you know, and I feel so much more confident when I'm done speaking in spaces, you know. And yeah, but that's my journey, and that's what Bloom is about. Yeah.
That goes back to the respectful initiative, right? That you talked about with the application to Super Rare. You talked about, you know, leaning on others for questions, for advice, for seeking out management, right? Connecting those dots with management, and then navigating the clubhouses, to the spaces, to the auction houses, to the Time magazines. I think it's an incredible thing. It's an incredible thing to listen to. I think there's so many lessons there. And again, to me, you just strike me as someone with such strength, just such strength, that you've repeatedly talked about these emotions, right? These emotions of overwhelm or fear or doubt or uncertainty. And your answer to it has always been finding the fuck it.
Yep.
Right. Like finding the way, right? Finding the way to face up to it, to move through it, and to talk about it. And that to me is extremely unique. And so I'm just sitting here and nodding along with you a lot. But yeah, that blows me away. That how many examples of that you've shared, like very transparently. Yeah, I had the doubt. Yeah, I had the fear, and this is how I did it. And I think there's a lot to learn from that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think, and it's also, I don't know, like there's also like a certain, there sometimes tends to be like a lot of fear when you like sort of like just speak about like you just putting your heart out there and just be like, this is how I felt about certain things. So like I'm glad that I'm at a place where I can just say fuck it and just, you know, just say it, you know, whether it's something good or bad, you know. Yeah.
You ready to play a game?
Yeah. Oh, sure.
The game is called the lightning round. It's a very simple game. Don't overthink it. That's kind of the ground. Actually, this is so perfect. We could call the lightning round today the fuck it game, because you just need those 5 seconds. You don't even need to count down. I'm just going to give you a topic, a phrase, something relevant to the space or your artwork, and I just want you to throw back at me your first reaction. And if it happens to strike on something that you're super passionate about and you want to kind of hit pause and go on a tangent, you're more than welcome to do that too.
Sure. Okay, sure.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
All right, let's start simple. Topic number 1, NFTs. First thing that comes to mind.
Fuck.
Topic
Yep. Like it feels
number-
like one fast train that just hits you like in a good way.
Yeah.
Yep.
All right, hand in hand with that topic, Ethereum.
Wow.
Digital art.
I don't even know how to react to it. So many emotions. Wow. I'm feeling a lot of love right now. I don't know how to express that reaction. My life.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
Wow. Yeah.
Your grandmother.
Wow. No. My everything, my heart, my spirit, my soul, my DNA, my entire universe. Wow. Yeah.
Her garden.
Magic place. Yeah.
Super rare.
Thank you. That was gratitude. That's how I feel. Gratitude. Yeah.
Christie's.
Wow. That's all. Wow. I can't believe I was there. Wow.
Micah Johnson.
Oh, wow. Wow, what an amazing gratitude, absolute gratitude. I'm in awe. I'm in awe. Like sometimes I don't see what Mika Johnson sees in me as an artist sometimes. So I, yeah, just I'm in awe sometimes. Yeah.
Bloom.
M- My me, me. It's I realized that it's actually more about me, growth. Bloom is about growth, like me as an, yeah, personal things, like really just learning about myself. Yeah, that's Bloom.
The last piece of NFT related artwork that you saw and it made your jaw drop. And just the last one. So chronologically, like not to rate one against the other, but the last one that made your jaw drop.
Um, Mine. Bloom.
Let's go.
I'm so sorry.
That's okay. It's honest. It's real. I love it.
Yep.
So let's go to a close sibling question that can cast a spotlight out somewhere else. So an artist that comes to mind within this space that you are stunned today doesn't have more eyes on their work. Someone that you'd like to share that spotlight with.
Mm-hmm. I would say a can of hands. Tato Tatai. I joined the space much later than he did, and his work is amazing. I think he once worked with Puck a little bit a while ago, but before I even joined the space, but I just can't believe that people don't know about him. A can of hands. Yep, that's his name. Yeah.
That's the one.
Yep.
I love it.
Yeah.
You did it. The lightning round.
Yep. That was actually fun. That was actually fun. Yeah. Yeah.
I'd like to change it a bit and do that, snap reaction, try to get in that flow state and just talk about some relevant stuff.
Right. Right. Yeah. But I really enjoyed this conversation. I felt like I was happy that I realized a lot of things actually about myself as I was speaking. Yeah. So really, really, I enjoyed the conversation. Yeah.
I appreciate it so much. And I really feel, and this is something that I'll say, as I'm talking about, hey, that this interview exists, but I feel like there's a lot in here of you sharing your journey. You did it in that very step-by-step fashion, which in this case, I think creates so many tangible and real lessons for others that may find themselves at different points of your journey, right? They may see similarities to different points of your journey. Either it's being outside the NFT space and learning about it. I think you made some great points in how you found it, how you immersed yourself in it, some of those early lessons and resources that you had at your disposal. And then those early, the first mint to the first like the first major milestone where then all of a sudden it was Christie's auction house, right? So it was your first mint at Super Rare, you're at the auction house. Then you had the multiple milestones that seemed to follow very rapid fire. And then what I love so much is that you shared that bit of, I think it was in association with it was the Sotheby's or Time, or maybe there was elements of this in both, but there was that feeling of maybe this isn't the moment. Maybe I can't get this particular artwork done in time for this. Maybe it's not to the level that I want, but you did. And then to come off of those experiences, right, with all those milestones towards the end of this year, and then to reach this new perspective, unlocking this different part of your art with Bloom, and then all of the things that I'm sure will follow from there. That to me also strikes me as incredible, because I think it would be easy after all of those things to just, 2021, okay, nice year, let's roll into the holiday season, pick this up in 2022. But that to me, that's the sign of a true creator, where you couldn't help yourself. You found it, you dove into it, and now here it is.
Yeah, like art is amazing. Art is really amazing. That's all I can say about that, really. But I just wanted to say, like, thank you for creating like such a safe space to just like for me to speak in. I felt really comfortable to just like speak and just like really be myself and just talk. So yeah, thank you for that.
I'm so glad. That to me means more than anything, because where this whole thing, NFT Origin Stories, right? Where did this start? It was, the idea for it was the end of last year, the end of 2020. And I wanted to know, I wanted to have story, have context. I love both the story and the context, and also the things that then remain unknown, right? Because there's a little magic in the unknown. There's a little magic in not laying out every exact detail, right? So it's being able to ask questions, get some of the context, but still leave that magic in there. And it's persisted, this whole year, almost a full year of origin stories and interviews. And, we're in the 50s now, and it's never gotten old. Like, it's never sitting down with you. And I'm glad you felt that.
Yeah.
It's fun. It's just fun. It's fun to be able to sit down with you and to get into your journey, and again, take out some of those lessons learned. I hope a lot of people got, something out of this, because I definitely did.
Yeah. Thank you again. And I think, how did you manage to get all those artists to speak to you? I just, wow.
I think it's
so many, like, wow.
I hope it's putting myself out there in an authentic way. Contributing to trying to contribute in my own way, whether it be putting useful information out onto my socials and contributing to the space, being a builder within the space, and then as that keeps rolling, been very, very fortunate to forge a lot of these relationships where hopefully everyone who's ever been on Origin Stories feels like it has been that safe space. And I look forward to keep it rolling for as long as it stays fun for myself. Or, I do live streams with my co-host Paradism, who's a wonderful artist in the space. As long as it all stays fun for myself, for us, for the artists that come on, we're just going to keep doing this.
It's really cool. Like, it's really cool. I feel like it can, like, this can, in future, this is going to be like something really huge. I feel like because of how you run the whole thing, like, it doesn't feel like an interview necessarily, but it feels more like of a conversation. And I feel like these are the kind of conversations that people are going to be like looking to like watch and actually like learn about, like, the history, which is now, then, about like how NFT started. I think it's so important to document these things and like speak about them, speak about the artists, people in the NFT space, their journey and things like that. So yeah, I feel that this will be very important, really. Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing so much, and I can't wait. Say this all the time now, but almost for sure we'll do something along the lines of origin stories, milestones, or find those moments in the future to come back and to revisit maybe the next year or the next chunk of time and reflect on what was the first episode. So I would love that to become a reality in the future with us, where we're right back here talking about how the Bloom series evolved and where you've gone from there. And so I really look forward to that.
That would actually be great. That would be great. Just like reflect on, like the past and like what has happened and stuff like that, especially with like the Bloom story. Even like years from now, that would actually be pretty dope. Yep. Yeah.
Well, in the meantime, keep creating. I have no doubt, after listening to you and being able to interact, I have no doubt that you will, and we're here for it. So best of luck with everything, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for your support. Thank you for believing in Bloom, really, and the story. And I can't wait to see where Bloom is going to take me, So take us, because you're part of Bloom now, forever and ever.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Thank you again. Thank you.